I'm fascinated by what's going to happen in the championship on the final day. The title race is up for grabs with Leeds and Burnley neck and neck after big emphatic wins for both over the course of the footballing weekend, if you like, if you include Monday night. But really, that's a bit of a side story to the playoff scramble and the relegation battle, which both holds a real appeal. There's one spot sort of realistically up for grab. Well, not up for grabs. It's one spot that one team could be relegated from out of five in the championship, and two that are up for grabs in terms of the playoffs. And I'm fascinated to see how it pans out. I think the fact that Coventry City are playing Middlesbrough is a really big pivotal factor, because while Middlesbrough are currently ninth and the lowest of five teams going for two spots, they also do have that advantage that the teams above them, other than Coventry, have obviously is that they can influence one of the teams above them. So if Middlesbrough win, Coventry City, they're guaranteed to finish above Coventry City, and then they need to just finish above two others. Obviously, as well, Blackburn Rovers are away at Sheffield United, who are guaranteed to be in the playoffs, while Millwall are away at Burnley, who, as mentioned, are still going for the title, but already have automatic promotion sewn up. Elsewhere, Bristol City, meanwhile, host Preston North End, who are still battling to stay up, and that's the other side of the final day equation, because there's five teams vying to stay up, and it's going to be so crazy and so chaotic, because the form of Luton Derby has really driven up the points tally required for survival in the championship, and it's meant that Hull are bang in trouble going into the final day trip to Portsmouth, with five possible teams in the mix to go down, along with Cardiff City and, to be confirmed, Plymouth Argyle. So plenty to get stuck into on this championship podcast. Yes, welcome along to EFL Debate. You could do us a massive favour if you enjoy these podcasts. Get subscribed to us on YouTube and on Spotify. But for now, we'll try and make sense of all the drama, hoping to be joined in a few moments' time by our lovely co-host Ollie Mann of the Sheffield United Way. For now, we're joined by Jack Bryan of Rams Review to look at the relegation dogfight. Good afternoon, Jack. Thanks so much for joining me. You must be really happy with the job John Eustace has done to take you out of the mire.
Yeah, I mean, there's no two ways about it. If you cast your mind back 10 games, John Eustace has managed 3 games, Derby have lost them all, and they're sat 7 points from safety. Now, 10 games on going into the final day, it is in their hands. I mean, granted, a quirk of the final day with Derby playing Stoke is that all 5 teams who could join, realistically, Plymouth and Cardiff in going down have it in their hands. Even Hull, with a win, will guarantee survival, because Derby and Stoke cannot both hit 51 points. So, yeah, but even still, I mean, Derby looked dead and buried at that point. When we last spoke was, one game after that, off the back of the Blackburn win, which was kind of the start of this run, in which Derby have picked up 20 points from 10 games, which puts them over those 10 games, third in the table. So it's been transformative, is the only word for it, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember that 4-0 loss at QPR in Eustace's first game in charge, and there was so many issues with the defensive side of things, whether it was miscommunication or not tracking runners, and so many loose ends. And it seems like John Eustace has tied up those loose ends. And I think you had a couple of games after that which were more narrow defeats. I'm thinking Millwall at home, where they scored in the last minute, but there was a gradual improvement in that solidity. And then was it Middlesbrough away where you won, and all of a sudden you won those 4 on the spin, which looked like that could be season saving.
Yeah, so there was the Millwall last minute defeat, Josh Coburn, and then one sloppy pass punished them at Middlesbrough to lose that one as well. And then Blackburn was the springboard for the 4 straight wins. And yeah, as I say, from there, 20 points in 10 games. And Derby have, to be honest, become surprisingly structured compared to that first game at QPR. Really, really solid, organised side who are better out of possession, as we kind of already knew. So, they're winning games with 30% possession at times. I think back to the Coventry game, they had about 30% of the ball, but once they'd kind of weathered an early storm and taken the lead through Emu Adams drifting wide and winning a free kick, which was headed in by Matt Clark. From that point on, there was an air of confidence. John Eustace said it in his press conference after the game. He was never concerned that they were going to concede. And again, that is the turnaround really that happened so quickly and has managed to be maintained. I mean, you look at the last two games now. Derby had won 2 away games all season going into Easter Monday, and they then finished their away campaign with consecutive wins for the first time all season.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk to me about that back three that started at Hull: Langas, Phillips, and Clark. Have they been a picture of solidity for the Rams?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously been a spanner in the works in this good run of the last 10 games with Callum Elder's injury. So it started with Craig Forsyth on the left of the back three, and in those 4 straight wins, he got 2 goals, whilst arguably being the best of that back three. He's then moved out to wing back. Sandro Langas has come in, and he is playing on despite a knee injury that is probably going to require surgery at the end of the season.
Right.
And yet he's probably still one of the quickest players in the team on one knee. So that gives me no excuse for my dodgy legs, really. But what it does mean is that, it's this warrior-like spirit. I mean, John Eustace said something that stuck with me after the Coventry game in particular, that this side of fighters, not victims. I know this is something that he had on the wall at Blackburn in various places. And really, this shift in mentality has said a lot. And that back three with Langas soldiering on, Matt Clark coming in and being really solid, and Phillips as well has been in great form, a great threat in both boxes. And now on Saturday at Hull, finally got a goal to reward that, really, after getting a couple of assists through his aerial prowess. Yeah, they've been in great form, and Matt Clark will probably stay if Derby stay up, having signed a 6-month deal with a 3-year option. Phillips, there's a chance if Derby stay up. If it's League One, then I reckon they're both off. Phillips won't re-sign, even though he's on free. And yeah, Matt Clark, I wouldn't imagine will take up the extension. But yeah, it's been a massive part of why this team has rallied.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I think John Eustace, for me, from an outside perspective, would be in the conversation for manager of the season if you look at his work at both Blackburn and Derby, with 20 points from 13 games with the latter. Going forward, I mean, I think you can sort of overestimate that side of things, because it has been a case of at times finding a way. Like, for instance, at Hull, I don't think he created an awful lot there, but it was through that defensive solidity and then grabbing a goal via a set piece.
Yeah, 100%. I think this will sound backwards, but the one way in which that was positive is how many games have Derby kind of not offered much, the opposition haven't offered much, and they've still found a way to lose it. I can't think of many of those games where there's been nothing going on for either team, really, and Derby has still found a way to win. So that you can spin into positive relative to earlier in the season. But yeah, absolutely. There's not always been that much. I think Jerry Yates has been better under Eustace. His work rate's still been immense, and he's found, I think, 4 goals out of his 10 for the season under Eustace, in obviously much less of the season than under Paul Warne. Marcus Harness had that really good purple patch with those 4 straight wins, where he was effectively playing up front with Yates out of possession, which sounds a bit weird, but he dropped off and then would sit in that kind of left half space, and that really suited him. I think actually where a lot of this attacking threat has come from is Kane Wilson. I know I bang on about him, but his driving force, his progressive carries up the pitch. And then also, Ebro Adams has been a shift in his role under John Eustace from just being this tough tackling midfielder who's right up there with the best in the league in terms of his tackles and interceptions numbers to actually using his pace and power, as John Eustace told me when I asked him about this last month. Using his pace and power to get up the pitch, especially in the absence of Wilson when he had that injury. You saw, as I mentioned, for that first goal at Coventry, and the second was the same against Coventry. Him drifting wide to pick up those pockets on that right flank where Wilson would normally drive into and almost form a bit of a front four. And that shift in role from the captain to get Derby up the pitch and help them try and find some more goals, because, as you say, the threat from the attackers hasn't been great, is another massive reason why Derby have managed to turn this around. They found goal threat from all over the pitch. Everyone has contributed with something.
Confident you'll do it on the final day then?
I think if I look at it, I'd be confident for Luton. Matt Bloomfield's really, really classy, really impressive, having been at that game against Luton as well. Derby, looking at everything objectively, yes. As a fan, no. I think I'm still worried for Derby, and I'd say it's probably Derby, Hull and Preston. One more stat to leave you with regarding John Eustace. If Derby win on the final day, he will have won as many league games with Derby this season as Paul Warne did.
Wow. That's very impressive. Right, okay. Well, thanks a lot, Jack. It's been great to get your insight, and fingers crossed for the Rams on the final day, mate.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much. I will just say we've got a podcast out tonight, hopefully, and, of course, all the fallout and the Rams review next week as well.
Brilliant stuff. Everyone go check that out. Jack, take care, mate. Good to see you.
You too. Cheers, mate.
So delighted to bring in my co-host for the afternoon, Ollie Mann. Thanks so much for joining me to co-host this, to co-host the chaos, I suppose, really, at the relegation dogfight and the playoff scramble. We're also joined by Lewis Williams, who's a Luton Town fan and YouTuber. Lewis, thanks so much for joining us. It's been an unbelievable turnaround, really. I mean, believable in the sense that you've had parachute payments money and this squad was in the Premier League last season, but certainly a massive turnaround in the last month or so.
Yeah, Luton, we don't do a normal boring season. It's always something happening, and I think if you look over the last 18 seasons watching Luton, there's only been 2 mid-table finishes. One was when we changed manager from John Steele to Nathan Jones in League 2, and the second one was the COVID year when we finished mid-table. Everything else, we've either gone for promotion, playoffs, trying to stay up, relegation. It's just entertainment. And I don't understand why there's no, documentary about us, because it's not normal. You're guaranteed excitement watching Luton and heart attack.
Absolutely. I mean, more recently, it's been excitement for the right reasons, Lewis. You've been in excellent form, which you've needed to be, because Derby have also driven up the points tally required. So you've actually needed this kind of run more than you would have even expected to at the start of it, if that makes sense. But again, I mean, similar to what we've spoken about with Derby, is it that solidity that's been key for the Hatters?
Well, we've just waited until the end of the season to go on our first bit of run of form. We just wanted to leave it right to the last minute. But I think what's happened under Matt Bloomfield,
it's like putting yourself in an escape room, Lewis.
Yeah, it's just want a normal year. Just give me a normal season. But anyway, yeah, I think Matt Bloomfield, I think what he's done is he's done a fantastic job. He's put in a settled back line in front of Thomas Kaminski, which I think's made the whole defensive aspect of our game a lot more confident, and we're just doing the basics correct. And then going forward as well, we are a lot better going forward. We're getting into that final third a lot more. I think our January signings have had a massive impact. You look at Asgard, who I think is going to be a top player. I was not expecting to see that impact, just the composure, the quick feet, the quality in the passing, and also not just from the new signers, but also from some of the old players that have now finally stepped up, because we haven't seen enough from the older players who we signed in the summer. So I look at McGuinness, for example, one of the best performing players under Matt Bloomfield, and also the man that got sent off on the weekend in Walsh, but that red card has now been successfully, he's been now back. That red card's now gone. Walsh has been outstanding. Yeah, it rescinded. Yes, that's the word I'm looking for. Walsh has been outstanding. I've not seen a midfield play like that this season for us. And what he's doing recently is just wow. You know, you speak to Coventry fans, he ran the show against them. And if he does that,
if you don't mind me interjecting, that's what you were missing in the first half of the season. I thought in midfield, first half of the season, I thought you were way too easy to just carve open. Whereas now, if you've got that presence in midfield, that makes a huge difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I think as well. Well, I think we were kind of relying on Baptiste to do what Walsh is currently doing now, and we haven't seen it from Baptiste because he keeps getting injured. So it's now given Walsh that opportunity to step up. But because he kept getting suspended at the start of the season, well, in the first 6 months of the season, he never got that consecutive run of games. And now he's playing this consecutive run of games. It's the first time he's done this in over like 6 years. And we're now seeing what a player he is. And there was a lot of question marks over the signing of Walsh at the start of the season, because everyone looks at Luton when we sign a player and go, why have Luton done this? There's obviously a reason for Luton to do this. We're now seeing the reasons now. It's just a shame it's happened so late on in the season. Done this in December, we wouldn't be in this position. We'd be a lot more comfortable, feet up, mid-table. But yeah, we don't do it like that, do we?
No, that's just not the Luton way. You know, you've been saying that there's always something to play for. There's always something to do. But, you know, last time we spoke, I think, Lewis, you were quite down. You felt as though you were resigned to your fate. You must be feeling really confident now going into the final day that you will now do your bit, and that obviously the other teams around you probably won't, I think, particularly when we're looking at Hull, looking at Preston. Are you feeling confident for how that's going to go?
Well, after we lost at home against Blackburn, I thought, right, let's have a look at the League One stadiums then. Which one have I not been to yet? And yeah, see if I can take a few off next season. But yeah, after the response from that Blackburn game has just been absolutely amazing. But we've put ourselves in one of the best positions you can possibly be in control. You know, out of the bottom three, but in control. Got to do the business against West Brom. I know they are, you know, on the beach. You know, I put that in speech marks because players, they still have contracts to fight for. There's still one or two in there that need to step up. And I know at West Brom, they're letting go a few of their, you know, main guys in the summer, because it looks like it's going to be a massive rebuild over there. And yes, they are without a manager, but I feel like despite saying that, that's when Luton still don't do it. We normally do it when it'd be better for us to play against one of the most informed sides. That's when we step up even more, like a Coventry and a Bristol City, which we had recently. So I just hoping and praying that, because I'm going to be in the away end at West Brom, it won't be my last trip, because I won't want to go back there if we get relegated. So fingers crossed we do the job. But I've got a feeling we're going to do it the Luton way. We won't make it easy. We'll concede first, and then everyone will start panicking. So yeah, I'm going to be lots of emotions coming up throughout those like 90 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just in terms of Matt Bloomfield, because you could see after that that sort of dramatic Shandon Baptiste goal where you could see Louis Vinks was desperately trying to get it over the line, and he almost tripped over the ball and it just kind of squirmed in, and then you could see Matt Bloomfield, you know, just wheeling away in absolute euphoria. I mean, those kind of moments are what football's all about, but you can tell he's put so much passion into the job, right?
Yeah, 100%. He definitely wasn't my first choice when we appointed him, I'll be honest. And I knew when we appointed him, it's going to take time, because it happened at Colchester, it happened at Wickham. He didn't hit the ground running straight away. It takes a good, you know, month or so to get going, like it has done with us. And he didn't win his first game after 8 matches. So I wish we made that decision a lot sooner, because he's definitely someone who I think tactically and more adaptable than Rob Edwards. I think we have made an improvement in terms of managers there. And I look forward to it. He's got my trust. Whatever happens this weekend, hopefully we stay up. But if we do go down, he still has my full backing that he can get us back to the Championship 100%. the way he's gone about this is brilliant, and I just wish we just got him in a lot sooner.
So, Ollie, how are you feeling about the final day then? Because do you feel like Luton are going to finish the job at West Brom?
Yeah, I do. I think, I was really worried. Same to Lewis, to be honest. I thought after Blackburn, they'd just left too much to do, particularly with the points that you saw the other team starting to pick up. But, that fantastic run, 3 wins in a row going into this one, it's in their own hands. Yes, I fancy that they will do the job themselves now. I think they've got enough there to say that with something to play for against a West Brom team who have had so much change and so much kind of thrown up in the air over the last couple of weeks. Yeah, I'm backing them to do the job here. I think they've got more than enough to keep themselves above the dreaded dotted line. But I also think there's other teams in there who probably won't amass too many more points, shall we say, on the final day. I'm looking at Hull, I'm looking at Preston. And so, yeah, I think Luton have done the hard work now. It's just a case of don't lose at West Brom and they'll be fine. And yeah, I'd back them to win, never mind, just pick up the point that they'll probably need.
Absolutely. Well, Lewis, thanks so much for joining us, and hope you enjoy your trip to the Hawthorns.
I hope so. I hope I can go back there next season. So yeah, fingers crossed, and hopefully, yeah, we win.
Absolutely. Cheers, Lewis. Take care, mate.
Cheers. Thank you for having me on.
Top man.
We now have a contribution from Nathaniel Whittingham from the Hull and Back podcast. Here's what he had to say.
Hello, this is Nathaniel from the To Hull and Back podcast. Very disappointed, of course, with the place that Hull City find themselves in at the moment. Under Ruben Sayers, we've made a significant improvement. Pretty difficult to be worse than Tim Volta, where we were bottom of the league. It wouldn't quite be a great escape, considering that we had money to spend in January, and we did spend it. Of course, typical that the 2 big signings, Matazo and Louis Barry. Especially Barry has been a big miss, or could have been a big miss. I think at times we've improved under Sayers. We've got some big wins. I think under him we'd be 13th, 14th, something along those lines, and with a relatively imbalanced squad, which is going to be the thing I'm going to mention, the key reason why we're in this situation. There was reason to look forward to next season. I've been trying to, on the podcast especially, temper expectations to say, well, we are 1 point above the relegation zone, 2 points above the relegation zone at certain points of the season since Ruben took over. We shouldn't really be looking forward to next year, and it turns out that it's the goals that we don't have up front. We've scored 1 in open play for the last 8 games, something along those lines. Certainly 1 since the international break, and that was a deflected goal against Coventry. We scored 2 penalties and 1 from a Lincoln free kick that Charlie Hughes scored at Sheffield Wednesday. But yeah, the performances at the key point of the season, I think really us and Cardiff are the only 2 poor teams down there at the moment. Everyone else is on a sort of an upward trajectory. Of course, well, other than Preston, I don't know how they're in the relegation battle, but if we are staying up on Saturday, which I only give us about a 30-40% chance of doing, I think a draw is enough, because Preston are so far, gone in terms of confidence and quality. They've really fallen off a cliff. But for City, yeah, the quality's not been there. There's a rumour, or there's all sorts of rumours that the owner might sell up to a Canadian businessman as well. If we stay up, if we go down, we're going to have a really serious financial issue. We're not going to be like Birmingham, that we're able to spend a lot of money, or Wrexham perhaps. We've spent so much already, and there are probably some players we've got on loan that we'll want to sign in the summer, which we might even do that with the Colombian, or the I think is the Venezuelan, Oscar Zambrano. I can't remember where he's from, but financially we're not going to be in a good situation. There's a rumour that the club told the players that were surplus to requirements in the summer that they're going to, that they told the players which ones are surplus and that the contracts are going to expire, or that they're going to be sold and moved on or loaned out, or not really be playing in the team, which is a crazy thing to do when you're only 2 points above the relegation zone with 8 games or so to play. I think the general thing is that since the international break, it's looked like we've played like a team that thinks that they're already safe, and that's the key thing. We've been playing for draws, we've not been trying to win matches. The Derby game was evidence of that, though Derby didn't really try for the win. They weren't, attacking every time they got the ball, but they did what they needed to do. All you need to do at the MKM, just sort of sit in and get a set piece and probably leave with a point or three points. And City just looked scared to try and go out and really win the game, which would have seen us be safe. Portsmouth away, very difficult game. They're of course safe. A draw, I think, with 3 other teams and 49 points. There's potential there to get a point, but the team, I think, confidence is so low. They don't look like scoring goals at all. I think the team is disjointed. We don't have a left back. We don't really have wingers with pace and a striker. Burstow, Carl Joseph, even João Pedro. They're not free-flowing scorers. I think really I'd start 6'5" tree Matt Crooks up front or on the pitch. I think we just need to sort of, because the style of play has been pretty rubbish, but I think it needs to get worse. We just need to punt the ball in the box and hope that we can get something better. At the moment, I don't necessarily see us staying up. The likelihood is that we've blown it against Derby, as we have with the home games against Luton and Stoke, and based on the recent form, we do deserve to go down, unfortunately.
Ollie, just a quick word on Hull before we move into the playoff scramble, because I think I probably wasn't expecting Asha Nilajela's reign to potentially end this way, because I think when he first came in, there was a lot of excitement around what he could do, the ambition, the financial investment that he could bring to the club, the communication, I suppose, as well. Lots of areas that brought a lot of positivity after an Ihab Alam regime that brought the opposite for Hull City, but it seems like all that promise hasn't been backed up by shrewd footballing decision making, I suppose.
Yeah, it's completely that, isn't it? Because, you look at a team that 12 months ago, we were talking about their upward trajectory, how well things had been going for them. 12 months ago, this is a team who were just outside the playoffs, who had a really good second half of the season, who were ready, who were set up to really kick on. They've got an exciting young manager who was going to be one of the best in the league. I think he'd won Championship Manager of the Year. I think he'd won just 12 months ago. 3 weeks later, they sack Liam Rosenior. They make this huge change in the summer because they want to be all focused around style of play with Tim Walter and trying to be better to watch, trying to be more exciting. And this is where it gets you if you don't make the decisions for the right reasons. And, I look back on sort of lessons we can learn from recent relegations of numerous teams now coming out of the Championship. Cardiff, everything's gone wrong for them this season. But again, a team who we thought 12 months ago were on an upward trajectory. You can't afford to be static. You can't afford to make those mistakes anymore in the Championship because it's so competitive. Birmingham did it. They made that change, wanted to be exciting, wanted Rooney, relegation. Plymouth did it. They wanted to be exciting, Rooney, relegation. All changed, want to be exciting, Volta. And it does start to look like it's going to be relegation, because I think going away to Portsmouth is one of the worst games you can have, because they just want to celebrate a fantastic season. They've done everything they wanted to. They kept the faith in a manager who they believed in, who they said, it doesn't matter that we've started the season badly. We want to believe in this person who's had success with us in the past. We know he can take us forward. We've bought into the project. We've not ripped it up just for the sake of it. They're reaping the rewards. And I think Hull, I think sadly they're going to be the team that end up biting the bullet of making bad mistakes in the boardroom.
Absolutely. Well, certainly looks ominous for Hull, doesn't it, going into the final day, because their fate isn't in their own hands. Even if they win, if other results go against them, they're going to be going down. Delighted. So let's shift our attention towards the playoff scramble, because we're joined now by Simon Lillibury of That Cov podcast, even, and the Sportsman Untitled host. Simon, thanks so much for joining us. In terms of Coventry's point of view, are you worried about your chances based on those recent slip-ups away from home that have made this final day a lot nervier than it might have been otherwise, or are you a bit more confident based on your strong home form?
It's difficult, isn't it? I did a preview on our channel with Johnny from Borough Breakdown, and that made me feel an awful lot better because he's certainly not got any confidence that Borough will get anything on Saturday. Having said that, we've got to be really careful. Injuries have come at a really bad time. Our home form, as you say, is pretty spectacular, and the CBS really does make a big difference. I think we've seen before with Lampard's teams that they are better at home than away. He's struggled maybe a little bit in recent away games to get things right. He's made some decisions, Brad Collins being the main one, still sticking with him, who's cost us points in recent games. But Plymouth away and Luton away, I wasn't that confident going to those two away games anyway. It turns out we've got no points from them. Okay, we deserve something at Luton, even with 10 men. I think that was actually a better performance than maybe we're giving it credit for. At home against Borough, it's in our hands unless Millwall do something incredible on the final day at Turf Moor, which I can't really see happening. I can't see them winning by 5 or 6. So all we need to do is win. Can we do it? I don't know. I'm not too confident. It all depends on those injuries. Because when our first team players are in the team under Lampard, we're playing really well. Now a few key men are out, it's looking a little more difficult.
What do you think, Ollie? That goalkeeping situation, Brad Collins did make a bit of a hash of things for Luton's winner on Saturday. Ben Wilson seems to be the one that a lot of Coventry fans are hoping Lampard goes for in the absence of Ollie Dervin. Is this a similar situation to, Leeds bringing in Carl Darlow, do you think?
Yeah, I think sometimes when you've lost that confidence, it runs through the entire team. You see it affecting the fans, but you also see it affecting the defence, the midfield. Everybody just gets a little bit more tense. Everybody just gets a little bit more worried. And those scenarios that are usually easy to deal with just become a panic-strewn mess. So even if it's not the keeper who's making the mistakes, you might see them start to come in different positions, all because they've lost that little bit of confidence, not quite sure where it's going. So even if it's just to bring that little bit of a boost back to the fans and to the players, I think it probably is sensible to make that change to just really secure yourselves. I do think Coventry are going to be fine because I think they've got a really favourable final game. We're talking about it, it's mouth-watering, it's exciting, but Borough just aren't very good at the minute. Just, unfortunately, we're just in that position where Borough are not really very good. And so I'd back Coventry to win this game. But also you look at the fixtures of the other teams around them. Millwall going away to Burnley. Blackburn are coming to Bramall Lane. And for all the things United have done wrong in recent weeks, we need to end the season on a high, on a positive note. So even if they aren't able to get the win, I'd still back Coventry to be the team that get that 6th spot. So I just think the fixtures have really fallen in their favour. But yeah, from the wider perspective of who we might have to play in the playoffs, I'm not so sure I want them to. So, as long as it's not Millwall, I suppose I'll take anybody.
I think that's the thing, Ollie, isn't it, though? You're in a situation, Sheffield United, where you can almost have a say in your own destiny on who you play in the playoffs. And that's why I'm concerned that Wilder might be half thinking that and make too many changes and let Blackburn come away with all 3 points, which could cause us problems. There's so many permutations. I'm just not enjoying it. We just need to win, and hopefully that'll be enough.
Just win your games, and that does the job. And like you say, fantastic home record on the Lampard, a Borough team who just seem to have completely lost all of that spark and excitement they had earlier in the season. Yeah, it's pressure time, but I fancy Coventry for this one.
I'm concerned. What I'm concerned about, Gab, is that Borough have so many good attacking players. Okay, they haven't clicked quite as much as they have in recent weeks, but the likes of Finn Azaz, Morgan Whittaker, Conway, they're a team that can take a lot of shots at goal. They're a team that are going to create chances. I can't see a situation in which we keep a clean sheet, especially if Collins is in goal. And that worries me, especially if Borough score first, could get a bit nervy. I think we'll score. I think they'll score. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
I'm just excited for the madness. I'm going to be honest, Simon. I know this isn't what you want to hear, but I'm just really excited for the madness. There was a point at the weekend, put a message into our big group chat where I just said, if there could just be, I think it was a goal for Derby and a goal for Blackburn, we are guaranteed maximum final day carnage. And then they both scored, and I was like, it's go time. Everybody, it's go time.
You can relax and enjoy it. I can't.
Brilliant stuff. Simon, great to see you, and I'm sure I'll see you on the Sportsman Untitled for another episode soon.
Cheers, mate. See you next week, hopefully.
Top man.
Cheers, Simon.
Delighted to be joined now by Nick from Ashtung Millwall podcast. How's my pronunciation there?
You're getting better, Gabe. You'll have
great.
this now by the time the playoffs are over, mate.
Brilliant stuff. So, Nick, Millwall have given themselves a sniff going into the final day. You wouldn't have predicted that in January, would you?
No, I've lost count of how many times I've written the season off and said, book your holidays, get out to Faliraki or wherever you're going to go and forget about it. But no, we seem to be a very resilient side. That home win on Saturday against Swansea was one of those endless second halves where you're clinging on for grim death, but we prevailed. And we don't make it easy, Gabe, do we? We've got to go to Burnley and get a result, which is not going to be any easy thing. But stranger things have happened, and you wouldn't bet against us. So, fingers crossed. There's going to be 2,000 travelling up there, myself included. Hoping for the best. It's going to be exciting up the final day, I think.
I mean, Ollie, from an outside perspective, I don't think Millwall have gone to the latter stage of the season still in the playoff scramble since maybe the 17-18 season under Neil Harris. So it shows how well they've done to push it right to the final day. And that's a great achievement, regardless of what happens at Turf Moor.
Oh, for sure.
It's a massive achievement, but I think as well, when you think about it, think about the way the season's gone. A fantastic start under Harris, then obviously his departure and how that sort of played out, and then this resurgence at the end of the season. It's almost sort of bookended by two unbelievable runs of form that have kept Millwall right in it. We saw them at Bramall Lane. I've been very open and honest about this. The team I least want to play is Millwall. I'd rather play any of the other five in the playoffs than Millwall. I just don't want it. Don't want to go the Den. Don't want them coming to Bramall Lane. It's not the game that I want to play because I just don't think that ends well for us. But it's been incredible, and it's such an achievement. You look at some of the teams in the league and the money that they're throwing around and what they've tried to do. And when you look at what Millwall have achieved and how they've achieved it, I think it's a fantastic story. And it would have the most remarkable ending if they can get the result they need at Burnley to sort of drive themselves into that final spot, because nobody else has been able to do it. And if anybody can, I reckon this Millwall team have got a chance.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, Ollie. I mean, the other thing I would throw into the mix, boys, is that we've actually got, I think Alex Neil said we've got 10 first-team choices out injured at the moment. It's an incredible achievement, given that 1/3 of the squad is not available. It's an amazing thing. Plus the 19-year-old goalkeeper, George Evans, I wanted to mention, who came in and performed, really well. Some top-draw saves on Saturday, goal-saving saves. So, it's going to be an against the odds run, but that suits us. I think we're at our best as underdogs and absolutely terrible when we're the favourites for anything. So this is probably the ideal scenario for us.
Well, Ollie might be terrified as a Sheffield United fan of playing Millwall in a playoff semi-final, but as a Birmingham City fan, I don't mind going to the Den.
Oh my God! Yeah, that was the last time we were involved in there were high dramas and high tension.
Stern John in the last minute.
Oh, don't. Let's move on from that one, go.
I'm sorry to bring it up, Nick.
Yeah.
How's Billy Mitchell's form been lately?
He was out injured. He was on the bench. I tell a lie on Saturday. I think he's been playing really well. I think he's one of our contenders for Player of the Season. Injury has played a big part in the whole squad across the campaign. But Billy, I think I had the chance to speak to him at the end of season dinner the other day, and I was lucky enough to go along to that. And I was speaking to him, and I think a lot of the players would say the same. They've really been impressed with the quality of management and coaching that's coming with Alex Neil and his team. And I think Billy is making big strides. You're seeing levels to his game, which maybe weren't there so much under previous regimes. I don't want to be too hard on previous managements because they've done their own thing. But I really do think that Billy's adding layers to his game. He's getting forward much more, playing balls into attacking spaces, which maybe wasn't his first instinct previously. But no, he's had a really improved season. It's going to be interesting to see where he goes next year.
Great work from Alex Neil there, Nick. Well, great to have you on the podcast. And we've got a lot, because there's so many teams involved not knowing their fate, we've got to get a lot of guests to get through. So we'll have to cut this one short. But it's been great to chat to you, Nick, and I'm sure we'll speak again soon.
Cheers, Gabe. Cheers, Ollie. Good luck, Lions.
Delighted to be joined. We will be joined by Johnny Bullock from the Borough Breakdown podcast, but for now it's Jolly Ollie off TikTok, the Blackburn Rovers supporter. You look like you've just had a gym session there, Ollie.
No, some of us are working in this society at the moment. Not the worst bit. I was stuck in Lidl for about 10 minutes behind 3 people with big shops. Just let me go in front, had a prawn sandwich and that. You know what I mean? Flipping out. Anyway, we're here. Final game of the season.
Well, thank you for making the time for us. We really appreciate it. So Blackburn Rovers win at Sheffield United, and you're in with a chance. How are you feeling about it? You probably weren't expecting to be in this position a month ago, were you?
I wasn't expected to be on this podcast. I mean, I think I've been on many ones before in sort of the promotion push, the playoffs, the contention. And I never thought I'd be back on this. I thought we'd be mid-table. I thought it'll probably come back to me, Gab. Probably next season we'll have a conversation about Rovers' chances. But look, we've given ourselves the best opportunity. No one was suspected winning 4 games in a row. Touch wood, that becomes 5. We have to go to Sheffield United, a place where we've not won in years. But it's like at the weekend, we were all watching the Coventry-Luton game. And I tell you this, when Luton Town scored, there was a massive roar going up as if we just scored the winning goal somewhere. And it almost feels like things are just kind of falling into place. It's not like we've got a massive outside chance. If we can put pressure, get an early goal, and then you look at the team, but there's so much sort of permutations with other teams. Preston's got to go and get a result with Bristol City. Burnley need to win the title, so we need Dingles to do us a favour, unfortunately. But look, I think if you ask any Rovers fan, and I'd like to think, I don't speak for everyone, but I think we realise that we've probably maybe left this too little too late. We lost 3 games against relegation threatened teams. One's been done now in Cardiff. So we'll probably look back on Saturday, maybe when we've drawn or we've probably won, and probably think what could have been. However, we're just going to go into the last game, have a good time, and you never know. You never know what comes from it.
Absolutely. What was I going to say? I think there seems to me to be a few factors behind Rovers' form. You've got the Hungarian goalkeeper that's come in for Ainsley Pearce, seems to have done really well. Danny Bart obviously coming back into the defence, bringing that aerial dominance. Form of Campbell and Doolan, and then Hashi bringing that mobility and pressing up top. So it seems to have just been a bit of a perfect storm since the second half at Sheffield Wednesday, I guess.
Yeah, and I think we briefly spoke about this yesterday, Gab, but that second half, I couldn't believe sort of the turnaround from the previous 5 and 6 games. And people last say to me, did his style just automatically get implemented? I almost feel like, because we've got David Lowe in situ still on the coaching team, I almost feel like we just kind of went back to what we did really well under Eustace. And I'll give Florian his credit where it's due, because he has taken a fair bit of flack from the fan base because it wasn't the most popular appointment. But it looks like the players at the moment, whatever's been said, are basically sold on what he's trying to do. If that's the catalyst and that carries us into the playoffs, then brilliant. But players like Dolan have stepped up. Todd Cantwell, who I've ridiculed because he was ultimately the marquee signing that we got in big wages, has started assisting, showing up. He's just in the middle of the box sort of player. He carries the ball well. Dolan complements him really well. If you look at the second goal against Watford and how good that was, that just shows you how well those 2 players have stepped up. Callum Britton is a phenomenal right back, by the way. I think he's one of the best in the EFL. And you know what? We'll go in on Saturday and we're going to have a good time. You never know. I generally feel that maybe this might be our moment. I've waited years. For see Rovers in the playoffs. I know other teams have flopped, like Sheffield United, for example, right? But for Rovers, this may be our time to get into the playoffs for once and for all.
Thanks for that drive-by.
Well, no, it's all, listen, all you boys need to do, you just need to be in gear 1 on Saturday. Gear 1, and that's all you need to do. Or we just need Broden Diaz to score a winner, a wildy for us. All right, or an own goal, we'll be happy. Okay.
Brilliant stuff, Ollie. Thanks so much for joining us, and keep up the great stuff on TikTok.
Cheers. See you later, lads. Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Well, that was lively, wasn't it?
You know what, Gab? It's just fantastic, though, isn't it? Seeing the excitement.
No, yeah.
What it is, though, more than anything else, is that I think, like, you get a little bit numb to it. You know, reflect on my position as a United fan, and I'm disappointed we're in the playoffs. I'm sat here and I'm like, I can't believe we're doing this again. This is a disaster. Everything's gone wrong. But actually, it reminds you that, no, this is exciting. Like, this is amazing. And the achievements, the teams that are getting here as well is so underrated. You know, we're talking about Bristol City, Millwall, Blackburn. These are teams who we didn't even think would be anywhere near at the start of the season. They were practically written off. And it's so great to see that excitement coming through in the fans. And it's reminding me that, yeah, this is amazing. Like, let's see which of these teams is going to do it. It's so good. Yeah, let's bring another one on, Gab.
Great stuff. Well, the next one is Johnny Bullock from the Borough Breakdown podcast. Bit of romance between you two, right?
Oh, 100% there is. You know, I love Ollie to bits. I love you as well, Gab, but just I can't hide my devotion and admiration for Ollie, to be honest.
How devoted are you feeling to Middlesbrough's chances on the final day? Yeah, because the one, as much as we can say everything that we've said about this squad and, you know, for good or for bad, the one advantage that you do have in the final day is that you do have some control over the outcomes of the results of the other teams, because one of them is Coventry. So you only need another 2 results out of the 3 games in relevant to go your way to get into the top 6 if you win. So that's the one advantage that you have over, say, a Blackburn Rovers or a Millwall.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter though, because we're probably going to get beat on the weekends. I honestly, I'm surprised you asked me to come on, to be honest, Gav, because it's not happening, is it? So it's not happening. It's done. You know, I would love to have the excitement of what the Blackburn and Millwall fans have, but nothing. It's just like, meh. Let's just shake hands. We know we're going to get beat 3-0 and we'll call it a day.
Gosh, I mean, that is a real come down from there.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I've just killed this catch up, to be honest.
You're like Buzz Killington off Family Guy. No, no, I love you. What I suppose what's caused your lack of belief in Middlesbrough? Because again, you've just been so streaky this season, haven't you?
Yeah, so streaky since January. There's there's so much that will probably go into it. I think that the recruitment in January and the injuries that we've had has just pretty much killed it. I think by killing it is by meaning is Borough can't be adaptable on the pitch. Everyone wants to play in that central space. There's no real change off and on the bench, so Carrick's limited to that aspect of it. In teams, I think if you watched Middlesbrough's games for like probably the last 10, 15 games, every team is playing in a very similar way, and they know how to nullify us, and they know that we'll make a mistake. And we're scraping through games, and we've just not been good enough, really. And it's thoroughly deserved that we've missed out, because we've had it in our hands, and we've recruited poorly in a couple of players, and we've been unfortunate with injuries, and we've just been on and off all season. And that's what you get with Middlesbrough, though, because you have a really high ceiling with some really top players like Hackney, Azaz, and you know, you could put Morris in there and Travers in goal, because that's really good.
But you know what, Johnny? And this is why I think there's an external perception. Like we spoke, I don't know if you saw, we spoke to Simon Lillibry earlier, and he's actually a little bit worried about Middlesbrough because of what you're saying. You've got Finn Azaz, you've got Hayden Hackney, Travers, and there's a feeling that you've got the players on any given day to do damage, and so there is that sort of worry that with Coventry's goalkeeping situation, there might be a world where, you know, a couple of those players turn up to the party and actually becomes a real challenge for Coventry.
Yeah, like when I was speaking to Simon, he was saying the same thing. You know, he was quite nervous, but I think the difference to when me and Ollie were speaking about automatics a couple of years ago to now is that Middlesbrough still have the high ceiling players, but they have a much lower floor. There's the squad quality across the whole team isn't good enough. In like, there's this warped perception of Borough, and I've been caught of it as well, where I'm thinking, you know, if the good enough players are still available, we'll do really well. We'll get to where we should be. But when a couple of injuries happen, and then you look at Middlesbrough's squad depth, and you look at the people that we've signed and now gone on loan, they can't even get games for League One teams, never mind like the Championship team. So it's a bit of a frustration for Borough. And I think with the recruitment that we've had, showing, like example could be the last couple of games, we've played with Azaz, Iniapcho, and Whitaker. All three players want to be in the same space, and that in itself limits a lot of Borough's outlet. And then when you play with a mid to low block, try and control the centre, there's no outlet and you don't create much. And then you get caught on the transition because you're trying to bring too many people forward.
You know what you're going to do in the summer, though, Johnny? You're going to sign Todd Campbell from Blackburn.
I take Tyrese Dolan from Blackburn, but I can just see it, yeah.
Oh, it's just such a classic Middlesbrough. Just got loads of attacking central bias players, and then let's just go and another one.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me. But honestly, we're desperate for like an out-and-out winger. I said on Simon's show that we need to change it at the weekend. If we don't, it's you may as well just shake hands now and save people all the time.
What?
Yeah.
What in terms of Borough then? Because obviously there were so many high expectations, and through the season we have kept talking about these expectations on Borough. And I've shared my frustrations, and it drives me mad sort of seeing how the season has gone from where it was and that sort of downturn in performance level that's come basically since Boxing Day, and that collapse against Wednesday. That just seems to have been the catalyst for so much of what's come sort of from that point onwards. But if it is to be, then, we don't know what's going to happen at the weekend, but what does it mean for Carrick? What does it mean for the club more broadly this summer? What do we think has gone wrong in terms of the performance level dropping so much? Because I know there's been injuries and I know there's recruitment questions about January, but Borough were playing well and not getting results for 3-4 months. How has it dropped to this point where actually you're saying, I want backers to get a result against anyone because we never hit that top level anymore?
Yeah, it's not. Borough are weird, aren't they? They lose the games they should win and win the games they shouldn't. And it's that in itself, it's just unsustainable. And I think when you look at Middlesbrough's summer, there is pressure on Carrick. There is a lot of people, and there's definitely that growing section of fans that saying, hey, get rid of him. And the back of your mind, if you think rationally, you go, well, yes, performances haven't been great, but what can he really change in what we've got? Because the squad's very suited to one way of playing. So the summer's massive for Borough. And when you look at the teams that are coming in the division, like Wrexham will spend, you'll see that Birmingham will spend as well. So I think it's a very hard and difficult time for Borough in general. I just don't. I think the summer's massive in terms of getting more outlets, and I think you've got to keep Carrick there for the interim to see it play out probably. And if in October time it still doesn't work out, then I think you get rid then.
Absolutely. Johnny, thanks so much for joining us, and look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Yeah, no worries, Gab. No worries, Ollie, and I'll speak to you soon, guys.
Cheers, Johnny. Top man.
Cheers, guys.
Everyone get subscribed to the Borough Breakdown podcast. Ollie, I am going to show a video of Ollie Hargreaves and his views on Preston North End, but I know you've got to shoot off, so it's been great to have you.
I have indeed. It's been fantastic, Gab. Sorry it's been short and sweet from me today. Obviously, great to be part of these conversations, the excitement. My predictions, if you want them.
Go on.
Bristol City and Coventry make the playoffs.
Okay.
Preston get relegated. That's where I'm going. That's where I think the lines are going to fall.
There you go. I'll let you go now. Thanks so much, Ollie. Take care, mate.
Top man. Thank you very much, Gab.
Yeah. So this is what Ollie Hargreave from the Butter Pie podcast makes of Preston North End's chances going into the final day.
Hello, Gab, and everyone here on Gab's episode about a relegation dogfight. I'm Ollie from the Butter Pie podcast, and I really didn't expect to be doing this. Probably 10 games ago when North End were 12 points clear, 90 minutes away from Wembley, just about to play Aston Villa, and here we are, 90 minutes away from potentially playing Port Vale next season. The club's been sleepwalking into this for a long, long time, and they should have known it was coming. Back in October 2022, myself and amongst other podcasts and fan groups wrote an open letter to the ownership, letting them know the concerns for the lack of, revenue, turnover revenue, commercial revenue, player recruitment and player trading. and we were practically laughed at, ignored, and look where we're at now. So realistically, you've got to listen to your fans when they show up about how they feel. The club's been run like a circus for the past 10 years. Long gone as we're second lowest for match day revenue, commercial revenue in the league, which is quite frankly disgraceful. There's no real ideas or change to be able to bring new ideas to the club. You look at the player trading model, which is laughable. We're just allowing our best players to practically run out their contracts and just go on freeze. We haven't sold a player for more than 7 figures since 2019, which is 6 years ago, and we decided to sign Jeppe Ockels this summer. Our big signing, yeah, but we don't play with wingers, and now he's been shipped out to Aberdeen where he doesn't get a sniff since January. So, yeah, ownership has to take a big blame for this. If you choose to ignore the problems and you choose to lose the maximum each year, look where it takes you. So if we do go down, which is likely, the ownership have to take huge credibility for doing so. We've got 1 win in 14. That's not good enough for any manager. Realistically, if that's at any other club, they get the sack. But does the blame totally go on Heckingbottom? He's been sent off numerous times, letting his players down. When they probably really need his support, he's just getting sent off by just swearing at referees. And it's like, what's the point, really? You're not helping yourself. You're not helping the players. He's been way too stubborn with the style of play that he's wanting to play with these players. They're not good enough to play. I'm seeing Jordan Storey try to play out from the back. He's got a foot like a spade. Liam Lindsay. How Andrew Hughes, Liam Lindsay, and Jordan Storey got new contracts at a championship level club is absolutely disgusting, because they are barely mid-table League One players. It's unbelievable that how the club just decide just to keep the safe option. Like, why would they want to do anything else? Let's keep players that are notoriously not good enough. But obviously the manager's got to sign off on it. 28 points from winning positions this season. Not good enough. The mentality of this player, the players, shocking, abysmal. I think this is a final straw for a lot of fans in regards to these players. Quite frankly, they don't deserve our support, because what do they give back? They don't show effort, they don't show ability, they don't show any creativity. There's nothing about them that makes me think that we're going to get anything on Saturday. And realistically, they've been on the beach for the past 10 games, thinking that we're probably safe. But the same happens, the year before, or the year before that. Feet up in April. We're not going to touch playoffs because we're pressing North End. Why should we? But in previous seasons, we've got enough points by then, haven't we? So, sleepwalking into a disaster. We've not hit the final 50. If we somehow stay up come Saturday, which I'm really not hope, it's not going to happen unless there's a miracle from Portsmouth or West Brom, which is clearly my 2 favourite clubs on Saturday. John Mousinho, I know you've been Preston North End legend of 3 years where you really didn't play anything and you were just clogging up our wage bill. If you're going to do anything, please make sure you win on Saturday. Players aren't good enough for North End. There'll be 2 I'd keep out of the squad. That's Gibson and McCann. The rest of them, get your bids in. Seriously, their mentality stinks. There's no fight for the badge. Realistically, the one that fights for the badge is Ryan Ledson, who's been told that he's not getting a new contract. Why would you want to fight for the badge on Saturday to keep, the side that he's getting rid of you come summer? So yeah, I don't really know what else I can say. I'm preparing for League One next season, and yeah, fingers crossed that something somewhere, Pompey and West Brom turn up, please. And fingers crossed, I'm talking in the Championship chat next season, because it's been very nice speaking about Championship. Cheers, Gab.
Ollie Hargreaves there from the Butter Pie podcast. Some strong opinions from Ollie. I agreed with a lot of what he said. I'm not sure I'd necessarily go... I think on the defenders, particularly Liam Lindsay and Andrew Hughes, I remember interviewing Alex Neil possibly about a year ago, and I think he said that, and I was actually surprised. I felt like a left back in that Preston North End team that sort of was on the cusp of the playoffs for a few seasons under Alex Neil. They needed an upgrade, and Alex Neil actually said, sort of speaking retrospectively, that Andrew Hughes was one of his most reliable players. I'm not quite sure I agreed with that, but I think it shows that he's sort of valued internally, and I think the number of games he's played and the number of games Liam Lindsay has played for. Certainly for Ryan Lowe, and I think, has Liam Lindsay been player of the year before, or certainly had 46 starts in previous seasons and played regularly for a team that sort of finished mid-table every year up to, even barring the last 7 games of this season. So I don't know whether I don't think they're good enough to play the style that Paul Heckingbottom wants. I think there's a very valid question mark there, but I'm not sure. Easy for me to say this from an outside perspective when I'm not paying to go week in, week out. So Ollie's obviously got more of a closer to the coalface kind of thing. But I'm not sure I'd quite go that hard on those two, because I think they're good professionals, and I would say they've developed a certain level of consistency in their careers, which suggests they're not complete mercenaries. And I would say they've probably been able to get the best out of maybe limited ability, but I also understand that they maybe have limitations, and that if Preston North End want to be able to play out from the back, which has become an important thing in the modern game, rightly or wrongly, then maybe they need a different personnel. But it's difficult to get that on Preston's budget without the finances, and then it comes back to whether they're doing enough commercially, and there are lots of valid question marks there. Right, so Preston definitely very much in trouble on the final day, but they're going to a Bristol City side who can guarantee themselves a top 6 finish with a victory. Here's what Annie Harris of AH Robbins Talk on YouTube had to say about their chances.
Right, hi Gab. Well, I did not expect to be in this position, quite frankly. I had a look at the video I sent you back in February after we just lost 1-0 at home to Swansea, which was the 3rd defeat at home all season. Still is the 3rd defeat at home all season. And I think that's a particularly good point to start on, because I think our home form has just been outstanding. So many victories. Look, feels like a lot of victories by 2-1. And shows defiance, shows a resilience about the group, shows a commitment, shows a real determination to win games, and we've got that knack of winning games at home now. Tight games, we just find a way. Particularly, don't find a way to lose either. So, yeah, it's a particularly good, strong trait to have, especially this year, considering how bad everyone is away from home. I think we've accumulated less than a point per game away from home. Might be 22 from 23. And we're still not one of the worst sides in the division away from home, which is crazy to me, but just the division. Anyway, we have lost 4-0 at Leeds. We have just lost 3-1 Luton, back-to-back games. That Luton game was a bit weird because it felt like, Borough could capitalise, someone could capitalise, no one capitalised. Plymouth beat Coventry, Borough lost at Sheffield Wednesday, and we got away scot-free. Leeds away was always going to be different because we knew what the results were going into Monday night. We knew what we had to do or what we didn't need to do. We could have just strolled there and lost 10-0. It wouldn't particularly matter in terms of what was needed in terms of the final day. Always going to be a tough ask to go to Leeds and finish the job in terms of securing a playoff spot. It was always going to be this game. It was always going to be the final day. It is the final day. It is a job on our hands. I think think we're in pole position in 5th place, a point above Millwall, a point above Coventry, 2 above Blackburn and 3 above Borough. A point on Saturday would completely cut out Middlesbrough. They can't catch us. A point would mean, well, Millwall's goal difference means they have to win. And a point would definitely mean they have to win. And basically Blackburn also have to win to overtake us. They have a slightly better goal difference. They've got some difficult fixtures, which I am slightly hedging my bets on and going, don't see... I could potentially see Rovers winning at Bramall Lane with the adrenaline and with the pressure and stuff. I can't see Burnley losing at home to Millwall. I think that's going to be a step too far. I think Burnley might draw that game. I don't see them, but that would be enough in terms of Millwall not finishing above us. So, yeah, and the head-to-head between Coventry and Middlesbrough. All fascinating, all great. But from my perspective, that pretty much equates into a nice-looking equation for me. Win, definitely in 5th, definitely in the playoffs. Happy days. A draw, and you're probably there as well. So the pressure is on. It's not as much. It's nice not to be in a chasing position like Millwall and Blackburn are, and Borough as well. But it's still, it's not nice. It's nerve wracking. It's nerve wracking, certainly. I think we'll do enough, Gab. I don't know about you. I think we'll get in there and probably finish in 5th.
Well, there you have it. Annie Harris from AH Robbins Talk is reasonably confident that Bristol City are going to secure their first playoff berth since 2008 under Gary Johnson. Well, that just about wraps it up. Thanks for joining us on the EFL Debate Championship podcast. Thanks to my lovely co-host, Ollie Mann. Thanks to all our guests across all the various aspects of the championship table going into the final day. And we'll see you again for another championship podcast very soon.